Hi, so nice to meet you. I'm Hepsie. I'm a hobbyist game dev from France, and welcome to my first ever devlog. Today, I'll be showing you the game I've been working on for the past 6 months, called The Baking Show. I'm currently making this game with Unity, although with everything going on currently with Unity, that might change, I don't know. I will wait a bit and see how the situation evolves. Anyway, so in this type of video, people usually tell what game they took inspiration from. But for this project, I don't have game references. I just wanted to make a game where you bake weird cakes, and that's about it. To give some more context, I have a bit of experience in game development. I started making games with Game Maker Studio something like 4 years ago, and I started using Unity 2 years ago. I even finished a game, but it's not public. I made it for internal usage in a company. Anyway, so in this video, I would like to tell you what is the concept of my game, The Baking Show, then tell you about how did I start this project, and then what's to come next. So, what is this game even about? Well, in this game, you will be controlling a baker in a baking show, as the name suggests. You are shooting an episode of your show, and you're making a cake. It is that simple. Also, I totally misspelled the word watch in this sketch, but I think it makes a really cool name for a streaming website. Anyway, so you have a recipe book next to you, but unfortunately, you've lost all the recipes, and you only have the pictures remaining, so you need to make appropriate choices in order to recreate all 4 recipes. As of now, I only implemented one cake that you can make, and it is the I Want Everything cake. If you bake it, it would look like this. I'm sure I will have many more ideas in the future and add more than 4 recipes to unlock. As for the actual gameplay of the game, currently there are dialogue options that you can choose from in order to decide the flavor, size, color of the cake, and also the toppings that you will put on top. My goal is to add mini games for various steps of the baking. I have many ideas and I'm really excited to get started developing those. Also, for this part, your suggestions are welcome. I would like to know if you have ideas of mini games that would fit this concept. Building the mini games will be the biggest parts of future developments. And as this might change a lot in the following months because none of my ideas are really settled yet, I prefer not to present anything to you in detail for now, and I will tell you guys more about the minigames when I actually start working on them. As I said in the intro, I actually have some experience with game development. And like most game developers, I have more experience with not finishing games than with actually finishing games. So I decided to be smart this time with this project, and I will present you my strategy on how to successfully start a project and stay motivated. Because let's be honest, games represent a tremendous amount of work, and if you want to finish a game, you need to commit to your project for a long time. So you better start off well. My strategy was the following. First, do not start coding this one very exciting feature of gameplay that sparked the idea of this game in your head. Instead, write this cool idea down on paper. The first thing to do when you open Unity or whatever game engine you're using is to create a solid core structure for your game. Decide on the project architecture, meaning what folders and what game object will contain each category of features, and then code the very basic logic of your game. For example, for my project, the most basic feature were the dialogues and the cake generation, so that's what I did first. By creating a solid core code for your project, on top of which you will build your gameplay, scenario, animations, music, sound effect, polishing, and everything else, you ensure that you will not be confronted with critical bugs that will make you redo half of your project later on, because that is extremely discouraging. The second thing I decided to focus my attention on was the graphics and art direction. The look of your game is extremely important in order to convey the right message. When you look at my game, you understand that it's a chill game. And well, that's essentially my message. There is not a ton of thing going on in the screen, because there is not a ton of things to do in the game. I actually made this scene 4 times before being satisfied with it. For the first one I made, I had absolutely no idea where to start, so I decided to ask Midjourney AI for reference picture because it was free 6 months ago. I obtained this image that I really liked, and I decided to use it as a reference, and I built this scene. But ultimately, I realized that I could not make anything interesting out of this idea, so I dropped it. For the second iteration, my idea was just bad, let's not talk about it. I dropped it very quickly. But for the third iteration, this is quite interesting. I think my idea was good, honestly. I wanted to make my game take place in a kids' show. It's nostalgic, it's liminal space-ish, it has the potential to be weird and interesting, which I'm into. The only problem is that I'm not really good at designing environments, and this was too much of a challenge for me. This is what I got after many attempts. Obviously, it does not look like a kids show and it's bad. I needed to go for something much more simple in order to be able to execute it with my current skills. After 3 failures, I again decided to be a bit more smart about it. I decided to go for a very simple scene with a limited color palette. First, I drew a concept art illustration myself, using many reference pictures. That way, I could actually start thinking about whether or not I will be able to model those objects later on when designing the space. I was really happy with the result. I only changed the color palette to make it a bit more green. Only then, I opened Blender and started making the assets. I also realized during this process that I needed a cohesive art style to make my game stand out. Because it is a fairly small project and I didn't want to spend many months learning how to craft my own shaders, I bought a shader kit in the Unity Asset Store. It is called the FlatKit if you're interested, and I think this brought a really cool touch to my environments. Thank you for sticking with me for so long. If you're still here, I would like to talk about what I plan on doing next. As I said before, I plan on working on the baking minigames, which will be the main part of the game. But since I have not fully designed them yet, I don't want to go into more details. But there are many other things that need to be done for my game to be complete. And this includes adding a beginning cinematic to the game, adding a selection menu, redo the character. Oh my god, this character is from a very old project and I really need to change it. Then animate it, because for now, well, she's very still, she doesn't move. Then create an ending for once you bake all 4 recipes. Also work on the music and sound effects. I would also really like to add more animations to the scene in general, like animate the curtains, or add more dynamic effects like light particles, stuff like that, so that the scene is less still and more interesting to watch. I made this video in hopes that you can give me feedback and ideas. I'm really excited to be sharing this journey with other people. Okay, I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for listening to me. Tell me what you think about my game. That was Hepsie. See you next time.